Continue in Shmuel Aleph, Paraklaf Daled, Pasuk Chaf Aleph. So at the end of Shaul's response to David, showing him that he is innocent, and Shaul says, people will learn from you, and people will emulate you in the future, and that's why you will rule in this world, and you will rule in the next world, and your rulership will exist forever. Pasuk Chaf Aleph, V'ata, and now, Hishavali b'Hashem, make an oath to me by Hashem, that what? Im tachris azari achroi, that you will not cut off my descendants after me. Im tashmi shmimi beis avi, and that you will not destroy my name from the house of my father. So basically he's making an oath that he should never destroy him anymore. Now the commentaries ask, did this exactly happen? Because because we know later on in Shmuel Beis, the Givonim, there was a big hunger, and when they found out the reason for the hunger, it's because after the events of Nov, the Givonim, who were the false converts to Judaism, that Yeshua deemed them to be water carriers and wood choppers, these Givonim who supplied the city of Nov died as collateral damage to Shaul's actions. And when David found out about it, so he asked the Givonim, what can we do about it? The Givonim, the only way they could be assuaged was by killing a number of the descendants of Shaul, which David allowed. So we'll see in a minute what David swears for, and you'll see why this is not going to be a problem. Chavbeis, Vayishava David l'Shaul, and David swore to Shaul. So here's according to the Malbim that he did not swear about the children, he only swore about Shaul, because of this historical problem. If indeed he would have made an oath regarding the children, he wouldn't have given over the children. That's how some Meforshim learn. And the Malbim says, but not necessarily. He could be made an oath for his children as well. But really, David didn't do anything. It was the Givonim who did it. The Givonim said what the death sentence should be, and David was only just allowing them to do it, but he never really killed them. Be that as it may, David makes an oath. Vayelech Shaul beis, so Shaul goes back to his house. V'David v'Nashav haluch al hametzuda, and David and his friends went back to the fortress. Now, I don't know about you, but I found that very unusual. If Shaul just was proven that David doesn't hate him, and that and he tells him to take an oath, he confesses everything. He says, "You're right, I'm wrong. Finished." So then, David and Shaul should have gone back together to Shaul's palace, and David should be continuing to play the harp or whatever. It's incredible. You would not expect this to be the ending of the story. So the only interpretation I can give you here is from the Chazal. I'll give us a little insight here, but it really is interesting because one second, there's nobody else, if I'm not mistaken. Just look again to make sure. Nobody comments on this pasuk. None of the major Makros Gedolos Meforshim talk about it. So therefore we have to look into Chazal, because otherwise this makes things very difficult, because you'll see at the not next chapter, maybe at the end of the next chapter, but in another chapter or so, that it just says that Shaul goes and takes David's wife and gives somebody else, and Shaul just goes after David again. So it's like nothing happened. like what's going on? He just swore. He just said, "You're right. Please swear." That's it. You'd expect that they would be coming back together now. They're friends. So says the Yalkut Shimoni, and obviously Shimoni is picking up on this. So it says, "Kivan sheholach Shaul." Once Shaul left, Amr lo Gvurav, his warriors said to him, "Chil b'shvil shelo hargecha b'mara hayat tzadik." Because he didn't kill you in the cave, does that prove he's righteous? Yodei haya, he knew. Shila as l'cha me'umah, that if he would have killed you in the cave, hayu nichnasim va'ochun asal tzli, we would have come in and eaten, we would have roasted him alive and eaten him. V'shamar lehem Shul, and Shul listened to them. In other words, after all that David said, after all that he proved, it's like unbelievable. He said, "What's the proof? What are you talking about? If he would have killed you, then we would have found out very quickly, and we would have destroyed, we would have killed him. That's the only reason he didn't do this." And in one other place, the Musar Nevi'im gives us again to see that this is indeed so. Going back to Pasuk Yud Beis, it says like this. Back to Pasuk Yud Beis when David says, "Va'avi ra'o gam ra'o," that you should surely see. So the Medrash Rabbah says, "Mipnei ma nenash Avner shenerag al yedei Yoav." What did Avner? It's one of Shaul's generals. What did Shaul do? What did Avner sin that he should be punished? That he was killed by Yoav. You'll see later on that Avner is killed, and it doesn't seem to make sense. Why Hashem allowed him to be killed? The answer is Rabbanan Amrin. The rabbis answer, he did not allow Shaul to become appeased by David's words. And then, because on this pasuk, Shenemer Va'avi Ra'o Gam Ra'o, Father, you should surely see. So Amr Abner said, Ma'at boy min gilgui didoch. So he says, what's he proving from the tzitzis? What's he proving from the tzitzis? B'sira hu'adah. He says, you know what? He's saying that he cut off the tzitzis and proved anything. What are you talking about? You got your coat caught on some thorns, and when you got up, it made a rip and finished. That's all. So we'll see. So you lied about that. We'll see how he died. He died in a very underhanded way, where it was cloaked as well. So you died by disregarding the proof from the cloak. So you'll see what's going to happen as well. So that's clear. So other medrashim on that pasuk in Yud Beis, rather, it says Avirei Gamrei, because in other words, why is David saying a double expression? So even the Gemara says, the Medrash says, from here we see a person has to honor his father-in-law like his father, because it's calling Shaul his father. That's one thing. And Rabbi Yehuda says, Vavirei Amr l'Shol, he said to Shaul, V'gam Ra'el Amr l'Avner, he said to Avner. He's talking to Avner as well. So anyway, but from this pasuk, the Medrash is able to extract the fact that Avner disproved the whole thing. So again, we continue to see the power of Lashon Hara. The power of Lashon Hara got Shaul into this mess, and we had this moment of being able to be appeased. It's the power of not necessarily Lashon Hara, but it's certainly an evil tongue that says, that it was pretty convincing argument, and he says, nah, don't make anything of it. And again, I guess Avner felt threatened, because if Avner was a loyalist to Shaul, not necessarily, he was afraid that if David would take over, David would bring his own generals. And he's going to be out of a job. So therefore, it suited him to keep Shaul in his place, even though he probably knew that Shaul was wrong, because remember, he would not kill the city of Nov himself when he was asked to, but he didn't want to give up his position probably. And therefore, he denounced the proof of David. And therefore, it's like nothing ever happened. Power of Lashon Hara. It's unbelievable. Okay, Perek Chafei is a long perek. Hopefully it'll go quicker than a shorter perek. The next perek is twice as long as this perek. Pasuk Aleph. Okay. Pasuk Aleph. Vayomas Shmuel. Shmuel dies. Vayikavtzu Chol Yisrael, and all the Jews gathered together. Vayisperu lo, they eulogize him. Vayikberuhu bebeso barama, they bury him by his house where he lived in Ramah. Vayakam David, and David got up. Vayered el midbar Paran, and went down to the desert of Paran. Again, you see, obviously, it's not clear. It's not clear if David went to the funeral. It's not clear. It just says that David, when he went back to the fortress in the last parak, now he's gone to Midbar Paran. I guess he feels he has to be further hiding or whatever. The Malbim, there's a lot to discuss in this pasuk. So the Malbim picks up on why is David getting up like that. So he says, Malbim says, Kol Yimei Chaye Shmuel, as long as Shmuel was alive, Lo Nigla HaDavar Sheshmuel Mashach as David. It wasn't revealed that he had anointed David. He did it secretly, and nobody did about it. Why? Ki Yarei Milagalos. He was afraid to reveal it, as he said earlier. If Shaul's going to find out I anointed another king, he's going to kill me. So I don't know how the Malbim proves this. He just says, and when Shmuel died, it was revealed either through Shmuel himself, maybe on his deathbed he told people they should know that David is the king, or maybe his students afterwards, because then there's nothing to worry about Shmuel's safety, and therefore word got out. So once word got out, so on top of the fact that Shaul accepts the negative response of Avner, now can you imagine if Shaul, according to the verse say that Shaul didn't know that he was anointed, now he knew he was anointed, so David now was further concerned for his safety from Shaul. So while they were engaged in the eulogizing Shmuel, he went to the Midbar Paran to protect himself even more. Because it's just another point, another nail in the coffin, as it were. And if Shaul hears now that Shmuel anointed David, he'll even, be upset with him even more. That's how the Malbim, that's what the Malbim adds over here. The Michalowicz says, that the fact, it's from the Michalowicz, it appears that David never went to the funeral. And it could be where he was staying in the desert by En Gedi. There were people going back and forth. Maybe there were tourist guides taking people to En Gedi. I don't know. Oh, no, I'm joking. So anyway, there were people going back and forth to eulogize Shaul. People heard Shmuel. People knew about this. People were traveling back and forth, and therefore he was afraid that one of Shaul's men would find him, and therefore he went further to hide in Midbar Paran, and therefore it connects his going to Midbar Paran to the death of Shmuel. So you have the Malbim saying now there's further reasons for Shaul to hate him, and now the Michalowicz is saying that it's likely with so much traffic of people going back and forth, people would know where David is hiding, and therefore they tell it to Shaul. So from the Michalowicz it clearly is David did not go to the funeral, and probably was a good thing he didn't go to the funeral, because his life would have been in greater danger. Now Chazal also mentioned that from the death of Shmuel until the death of Shaul, from this point on, it's 7 months. Just if you want to know exactly the time frame over here, what's going to happen from now till Shaul's death is 7 months, and we'll see that'll come back to us as well. And finally, the Musar Navim brings us from the Yalkut Shimoni again, and it says like this. It says, if you notice carefully, this eulogy is a bit different than the eulogy of how people dealt with the death of Yoshua versus how they dealt with the death of Shmuel. Because what does it say? It says over here, Vayikvetzu kol Yisrael, all the Jews gathered together and mourned for him. What did it say by Yehoshua? It says, Vayikver oso bigvul nachloso, they buried Yoshua by the border of his inheritance, Mitzafon Lahar Gosh, to the north of Mount Gosh. And remember we said Gosh means like a volcanic mountain, because the mountain was volcanically erupting, wanting to kill them all, because they were lackadaisical in the eulogies of Yeshua. They didn't treat his death with the greatest of respect. Therefore, therefore over here it says, he died and everybody came and eulogized him. Okay, to show you that David didn't have a chance. He couldn't. He was in danger. It means everybody. Everybody came. I'm sure there's everybody. There's always somebody sick doesn't come, whatever. Somebody has a reason not to go. But it was like kimat. It was a tremendous outpouring to him. So you're seeing the difference of why that's so. So. Yeah, and the commentary says, what's the Medrash what's the Yalkut trying to teach us over here? It's coming to teach us that even though you're obliged to eulogize a great person, but we never find that there's an obligation to gather and make, only the people who live there are obliged to do this. In halacha, if a great tzaddik dies in your city, then everybody in the city is obliged to come to the funeral, to give him cover. But from miles and miles away to come, we don't find this.
He is the king.
It's enough that everyone can make hispadim. Here's the point: we're going to make hispadim in their own cities. You don't have to all go to Ramah. Everybody, when word gets to your city, says, no, we're going to stop. We're going to mourn for whatever, mourn for a week, whatever. We're going to say eulogies, we're going to this and that. Where do you see that you're obliged to go to the city where the funeral is? We don't find this. Therefore, it says, since the Jews were punished that they were lazy with the hesped of Yeshua, therefore they made extra efforts. In other words, it was many years before, from the death of Yeshua till Shmuel. It was quite a long period of time. It's almost probably 400 years. If you'll remember, the last time, in other words, clearly to these people, the last great person of Shmuel's caliber to die was Yeshua. And they probably had a tradition that, Yeshua, we didn't mourn him properly, and we almost got wiped out by the volcanoes. So therefore, now that a real tzaddik again has died, so therefore we have to eulogize him properly. They went out of their way to go from all over around to eulogize. That's point number one. Point number two, Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani says, Mishalo Naslo. It was from himself they gave him. What does it mean? Because we know that Shul went on a circuit, had a circuit court. Shul was different than any other leader. Shmuel. The other leaders, they said, here's our court. People want to come to us, they come to us. Shmuel wasn't like that, we said. Shmuel went around from town to town, and it was really very physically taxing for him. And he came to everybody. So now, that's what Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani is telling us over here. He's saying the fact that Jews got all together is not like the first opinion saying because they were afraid if they don't eulogize him properly they're going to get punished, but rather it was the Jews out of a love for Shmuel, and they feel it's the least we could do. If Shmuel bothered himself to leave the comforts of his home and travel all around under great difficulty, and therefore he was a visible personality. He touched everybody's heart. Lahavdil, if a politician goes stumping through different cities, right, and everybody says, "Oh, he touched me, shook my hand." Right. So anyway, Shmuel didn't do it for those reasons, but the fact that he came to all the cities, so you saw how much he honored everybody. So therefore, they figured, listen, the least I could do. I remember Shmuel once came to my house. He said he encouraged me to do tshuva. The least I could do is come to his funeral and go to his funeral. So there's two different reasons. Either it's for those who were afraid that they'd be punished if they are lax in their proper eulogizing of Shmuel, or others who felt a debt of gratitude to show respect for him. Okay. Now, one more point, as we'll see as it leads into the next pasuk. Maybe we'll just read the next pasuk quickly, and then we'll say this chazal that goes on this. So everybody's in a sad state. Everybody's eulogizing him. It's really a sad thing. However, in the very next pasuk, it says, "V'ish b'ma'on." There was a person who lived in Ma'on, u'ma'aseu v'Carmel, and his business was in a place called Carmel. V'ish gadol ma'od. He was a very big man in terms of being very wealthy. V'lo tzom. He had sheep. Shloshes alafim, 3,000 sheep. Ve'elaf izim, and 1,000 goats. V'hi bigzos the son of a Carmel, and it was as he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. We'll find out more about this fellow, but now we're talking about this very wealthy guy who's now very, very busy with the shearing of his sheep. So now the Yalkut Shimoni continues and connects. The first says, what's the connection? It's the first pasuk. It's on its own. It's one little part, its own parsha of one pasuk. Shmuel dies. We eulogize him. Fine. Now we're going to the next story of this wealthy guy. We'll find out who's novel. But anyway, so what's the connection? So Yalkut is like this. Omar Kadosh Baruch Hashem says, "Hakol tzavchim v'toivchin al misasha shel tzaddik." Everybody's crying and hitting their heads and eulogizing this tzaddik. The whole country's in mourning. For Rosh Hazeh, this wicked man. Yeshev v'oisei marzichim, This guy's, sitting and doing business. He's shearing his sheep. It's like nothing happened. To teach us that anyone who is kofar, who denies an act of kindness, is as if he has denied the existence of God. In other words, if the whole country is mourning, if you recall, we mentioned at great length when we were learning Yehoshua at the end, we answered why were people so lax in Yehoshua's funeral, if you recall. Because we know that Yehoshua died, I'm not remembering the exact date, right after Pesach. It was during the harvest, and that we explained it's the busiest time in Eretz Yisrael. Your whole Parnassus depends on it. So I said that l'chayra, it seems that the Jews were God-fearing. They just went to the Mishkan. They all left their places for Pesach, Oila Regel. They just get back home, and now they find out that Yeshua passes away, and I figure it's a big schlep to go again, and our Parnassus is in big danger, etc., etc. Yeshua himself, see, what comes around goes around. Yeshua himself was lax in the total conquest of Eretz Yisrael. For whatever reasons, we justified whatever. He was lax in conquering Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, Mida Keneged Mida, when he dies, the Jews will say, it's too hard for us to go back a second time. So therefore, he didn't get a big funeral. So, and Hashem was upset with this. So now the Jews, I guess, Jews had been more established in the land, and they, had more bitachon, and they went. So now everybody goes, and this guy doesn't. What's with you? I mean, it's all the Jews except Novel. Novel's like nothing, no big deal. And a guy who's kofar, a person who denies that he has to do kindness, it's like he's a kofar baker. It's like he denies God's existence. In other words, the reason to go to Shmuel's funeral is an act of gemilas chesed. It's an act of loving kindness. And no, I don't have to do an act of loving kindness. There's enough people at the funeral. It didn't affect me in any way. And he's saying somebody like that is a kofar baker. The guy really denies Hashem's existence, even though we'll see in a minute, even though he was very wealthy, very powerful, and a very capable man, but kindness was not his specialty. And if a person's missing kindness, it's not far to go to find that he doesn't believe in God either. There's no such thing as a person who doesn't do kindness and believes in Hashem. If you believe in Hashem, how can you not do kindness to other people? On so many levels. If you believe in Hashem, then you know that Hashem is kind. And if Hashem is kind, He wants you to be kind. If you believe in Hashem, then you believe in His Navi. If you believe in Hashem, you believe in His Navi. When Shmuel dies, that's, it's like an extension of Hashem, as it were. It's the greatest representative of Hashem, greatest ambassador of Hashem in the world. And he dies. You have to show respect. And if you don't have kindness for that, then you don't believe in Hashem. And we'll see from his subsequent behavior that he continues to fall in this area. So we'll see what happens to Nahum at the end. It's not going to be a good ending for him. And but you already see what kind of personality that he is.
So at this point, where do Chazal pick up the fact that David did not go to Shmuel's? I don't understand where they got that from.
Well, if you see that right away at the end of the last parak, that when Shaul goes home and David has to go to the fortress, why didn't they go home together? Because he knew his life was still in danger.
Okay.
So if his life is in danger, he can't very well go to a funeral. You could be sure Shaul told all the soldiers, keep an eye out for David. If David comes, we'll kill him. How can he go to the funeral? That's like such a public place to go. He's going to get killed instantly.
Did Shaul go?
Of course Shaul went. Shaul's the king.
It doesn't say anywhere.
It says everybody went. Everybody went.
That would include David.
When we say everybody, it means everybody who was capable of coming. Obviously, you see, Novel didn't come either. This other guy didn't come. Because what Kol Yisrael means, Kimat everybody went. If there's 2 million Jews living in the land of Eretz Yisrael, you're like, nearly 2 million came. It's like, everyone doesn't mean every single person. There could have been a few people who were sick, but it means it was a tremendous outpouring. It was a major deal, and nearly everybody came. Nearly everybody came. So we're setting up the scene over here. So the whole world is mourning for Shmuel. Novel gate Menitzun, doesn't bother him at all. I got business to do, I got to shear. It's again his stinginess. You know, I'm going to waste my time. I can make a lot of money. Shearing the sheep was a very important day. You made a lot of money that day. That determined it was the busy season for these shepherds. You sheared it properly. You had wool, very expensive wool. Made a lot of money. He says, I'm not going to give up this opportunity just for a funeral. There's enough people without me. You see what kind of terrible nature he is. And obviously the whole world's that. And David is not there. David is engaged with Novel because he cannot go to the funeral. Pasuk Dalet. Hayishma David b'midbar ki gozeis Novel as-sono. David hears in the desert that Novel is shearing his sheep. Okay? So, and therefore, now he's having a simcha. Maybe it's a simcha, at least his heart will be happy with him. And maybe we can benefit from him a little bit. Hey, Yishlach David Asar Narim. David sends 10 lads. Yomer David Lanarim, and David instructs the lads. Alu Carmela, go up to Carmel. That's where he's shearing the sheep. Ubasam al Novel, come to Novel. Ushaltem lo bishmi lishalom, and ask for him in my name in peace. So, number one, he's trying to appease him in 3 ways. Number one, in terms of the covet of David, who's sending him, and he says, give him a blessing. He says, Shal Shalom, ask in my name in Shalom, and you're going to see how you ask in Shalom, Pasuk Vav. V'amartem, and say, Kol lechoi, say like this, lechoi, v'atah Shalom, peace should be unto you, u'beis Shalom, and your house should be peace, v'chol asher l'cha Shalom, everything you have should be in peace. So he's saying that you should kol lechoi, you should merit to live for the coming year. That's a bracha. V'atah Shalom, and now he's including 3 shaloms that should be within a shalom for himself, a shalom for his family, and a shalom for everything he has. And let's give him nice greetings, say nice words. It's a happy time, give him nice greetings. And now, and in Zion, V'atah Shamati, and now I heard, he goes in loch, you're shearing. So, Atah Haroim Asher L'cha Hayoimanu. Now you had shepherds that were with us the whole time. And what he's basically going to say, Lo hechlamnu, we never embarrassed them. Lo nifkad lohem umah kol yimei yosim b'Carmel. And never lost any sheep over in Carmel. What David is telling me, what actually happened, is that Novel had shepherds. Novel wasn't with the shepherds. He left the shepherds on their own. And David has a gang of fellows. And number one, David needs food. Needs all kinds of stuff. And, highwaymen or people who need food, they can justify, stealing a couple sheep here and there. So saying, number one, we never took anything, we never had any problems, we never shamed your shepherds, we never caused any aggravation. And number two, we protected your shepherds from wolves and lions and terrible things, and we were a good security service for you during this whole time. And Pasuk Ches, just want to finish this idea. Shal Sarach, go ask your youth, they're going to tell you. And these young fellows will find favor in your eyes. Yom Tov Banu, that we're coming for a Yom Tov. Give from what you have in your hands. To your servant and to your son David. And he's saying, we're hungry, we're starving. So can you please give us a little food? You're having a Yom Tov now. So some say, we'll see next time. Ki al Yom Tov Banu. He says Erev Rosh Hashanah was. And we need to make a Sudas Yom Tov. So anyway, so give us a little bit to eat. That's what David's wants. It's not a major request. The guy's wealthy beyond means. He's just celebrating a big simcha, shearing all the sheep. And the shepherds say, and David's not saying, listen, we helped your shepherds, and that's part of the simcha was because of us. We never asked for anything, so please just give us something to eat. It's Erev Rosh Hashanah. It's not Stam, it's Erev Rosh Hashanah. Can you imagine someone not being at Erev Rosh Hashanah? I don't have any food for my family. And you're a wealthy guy. It's Erev Rosh Hashanah. You can't give them up something to eat it. So this was the request. We'll review this a little bit more next time, and we'll see what his answer is.